quickly, the grant that I'm applying for is to expand the program that we have running right now. With that, with the state line residence section, I don't know if you're aware of this or not, our resources are limited. So I do not have the support system in place from the in-town department or from headquarters, because we're in rural areas. So one of the things that we have to maintain is a presence. So it allows me, with this grant, the purpose of this grant was to establish or build upon the program we have in place. And part of that program would be, our goal would be the registration. But us being in the rural communities and 2 officers on, we still have to maintain an officer presence. Meaning, if the guys are running the Mint 400 and they are specifically focused on the registration of the grant, which is what they're there for, but in the course of that, a call comes out, say on the east side of the Gene Lake Pen or the east side of Prim, they've got to continue on with what it is they do. So they're basically having a balanced approach. They have to maintain what we do in the course of this program, if I'm explaining this right.
Right, and I'm aware of that more or less difficult situation that you find yourself in. I just need you to be fully aware that when, for instance, you're at the Mint 400 and you're doing an OHV registration, awareness, and education program, when that call comes in, you're off the OHV clock and you're on some other clock, whatever it might be. I just need you to be aware of that.
Oh, I'm aware of that. And that's totally understandable. I understand your question now.
Okay.
One of the reasons, the terminology that I use, again, this was my first time ever writing a grant. I've never been part of the process, but I went into it with a couple of goals. And one of the goals was to be completely transparent and not come across like there weren't mitigating factors in what it is we do. Does that make sense?
Yes, and thank you for that. And again, the biggest reason I bring it up is because there's so much intermingling of the other things you'll do. I wasn't sure you were aware of that separation. Okay.
Yeah,
so
absolutely. No. Yeah,
okay.
I'm totally aware, and it's completely understandable.
Okay. Also, on page 3 of your application, you make the comment that the grant is a 2-year grant project. Indeed, it is a 2-year grant period, but also what comes along with that is the project must be maintained 25 years or the life of the project. So you'll be responsible for reporting on this OHV use beyond the 2 years.
Oh, I'm well aware of that. What's great about this, the opportunity
right.
to be able to do something like this, is the OHV program has become such a big part of what we do that's one of the reasons why when I wrote the grant, I did not submit or request overtime money. And one of the reasons I didn't do that was because the OHV community and the atmosphere and the culture is so large where we work that it is incorporated in what we do daily. And so one of the long-term goals was we need to take the program that we have at a junior varsity level and create a varsity level program, if that makes sense. And it's long-term. It's definitely long-term.
Okay, thank you. Really, thank you for explaining that way. It really makes a lot of sense. I think that's all the questions I have for now. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
Commissioner Glenn. So I have a few questions. On the events, do you see much of a need? I know you have to be there anyway, but do you see much of a need there for, because most of it's going to be spectators, right? Are you out walking through the areas looking at unregistered units or units that don't have the OHV sticker on them? Or, so that's one of the questions I have.
Yeah, so when you look at the major events, Prim is a big part of that. And what you have to look at is the event itself. And the atmosphere and the culture is so great that if you go down, and I'll use Prim for example, if you go down to Prim, they have the racetrack and the spectators. But what you have around there through the parking lots, on the county roadways, in the backcountry, going from hotel to hotel, is the side-by-side of the Razor is such a huge part. It almost takes over the vehicle, the transportation. And I kind of equate it to, if you were to go to Alaska, everybody uses a snowmobile almost like a vehicle. There's more snowmobiles than there are vehicles. This kind of is the same thing, where it's not only the event with the spectators, but there's such a large community around it. And it, whether it be the hotel parking lots, whether it be, going to and from the gas station, it's actually kind of a big deal. You could go down to Prim on these major events, and the events, two of the events that I didn't put in there because there's really no record of them, is we have these large groups from Mexico that come up, and we're talking hundreds of side-by-sides. And it's not only the spectators and the actual event, it's everything around it that has to be maintained.
Sure. Okay. So you are basically looking at the people that are at the gas station, not just basically looking at the event.
Right. The event takes place, absolutely. But I'll be honest with you, every interaction that I ever had with the community, the OHV community, it's always been good. But not everybody's doing the right thing. You can't ride an HOV on a paved county roadway with streetlights to go get gas, but it happens. We have meetings routinely in Sandy Valley. And part of the commissioners board and part of the gripe from the public, well deserved, is we can just buy these HOVs, drive them around like cars, kick up dust, do whatever, and there's no consequences. Well, we need to implement that. We've gone to, I talk about in the submittal, I talk about the two public events that we do, one at Sandy Valley High School and one down at Prim, which we're starting this year, where it is an informal conversation. It's a demonstration of our vehicle, because let's face it, kids think that's cool. And, the pamphlets and the education, the conversations that we have. So that's a big part of it too.
Okay. So I guess, has Prim or any of the areas that you work in designated themselves as OHV friendly, where like in Elko, in the town that I live in, you're allowed, because they want the tourists to be able to come in with an OHV, let's say riding from Eureka or Vegas or wherever, and be able to drive into town, go get gas, go to the grocery store, and go to a hotel and go get dinner. So that would be
Prim and the rural commanding. Yeah, Prim Valley, and I'll use Good Springs as an example, Sandy Valley, they are OHV friendly to a point, meaning no, we don't follow the Elko rules. they're friendly to the community because it's a big part of the community, but there's still the rules in place, meaning there's not legislation, there's not county law, there's not BLM law that says yes, you can drive an unregistered OHV to go get gas.
Well, even registered. So
yeah, registered. It's a balanced approach. With rural communities, you have to have a balanced approach. I talk about this with my guys all the time. You're out in the middle of nowhere, and a father's teaching his son how to drive a truck, but he has no driver's license, and you pull him over. Are you going to give him a ticket? Not in the rural communities. You have to have a balanced approach. And we have that same approach with OHV. We're not out there to hammer people. I want to say a large part of what we do is education. Not everybody deserves a ticket. Not everybody needs to go to jail. Especially in the rural communities. It's a different type of policing out there for sure.
sure. Okay, and then just a couple other things. I saw where you had a quote from the Polaris law enforcement area. Have you looked for a local vendor also?
I did. Carter's Motorsports. I reached out to them.
Okay.
One of the challenges that I had, it really wasn't a challenge. It was more of a learning process. When I reached out to the local vendor, one, they didn't respond, but I did go down there and have a conversation with them. And the thought process was this: once I go through Polaris Direct through the government program, they're not going to be able to beat the price. So, because now the local vendor, Carter's Motorsports, is now the middleman, which increases the cost of the vehicle.
Sure. Okay. And then one other thing on the violations that you listed seat belts, helmets, insurance, driver's license, and eye protection. Some of those wouldn't necessarily be a violation, would they?
No. Again, it comes down to transparency. We don't know everything that we're dealing with. We make again, it comes down to transparency. I did not want to come across in a way that I was trying to write a grant to totally cater to the buzzwords. I was literally writing the grant saying, here's the transparency. This is everything we deal with. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong.
Right, and I appreciate that. Earlier in my line of questioning, and that's part of the problem law enforcement deals with. So they stop an OHV that doesn't have a sticker. Well, the person steps out of the OHV drunk. Now we're on a different time clock.
Yeah.
Right. There's a lot of mitigating factors when it comes to, say, a public vendor. I listened to a lot of these people before me, and they did an outstanding job. Actually, I was kind of worried. I thought, oh my God, I'm going to get on this phone, and I'm not going to be as good as the people before me. But that one of the things that I thought of that was highlighted through some of the conversations is we have to maintain the program as well as doing our law enforcement duties. So what happens is it expands the program, and you have to go into it knowing that, yes, you might be pulling over a razor for no registration, but you bring up a great point. Then he steps out and he's intoxicated, or he steps out and a gun or a bag of meth falls out from his pants. Now what do you do? Right? You have to maintain exactly what it is you do and move forward with it.
Right. Thank you. That answered all my questions.
On over to this side of the room.
Sergeant Pickrell, Ken Ravago. First of all, I want to thank you for your time. If you recall, I was introduced to you by Sergeant Keegan Doty when we had the railroad incident with the UTV that I've talked about numerous times here with the commission. I'm not sure if you recall, you gave me a lot of information you could provide, and I appreciate that. I don't know if you recall that a few months ago.
I do, and it's good to speak with you again. And I remember the conversation we had, and I stand by it. So much so that I even allowed you to quote me or use that information in your presentation in Carson City. It's a big deal out here. And I think one of the things that we talked about was we have these deaths, and the most recent one was an ugly one. It was a 54-year-old male that killed him and his 24-year-old son because of poor decision making. And one of the things I always say is we deal with these wrecks, we deal with these deaths, we deal with these events, and it all comes down to the same thing. It all comes down to they overestimate their skill set or underestimate the terrain. And then you add alcohol into it, and then you have the train incident that took place a couple months ago.
Absolutely, sir. And if this grant is awarded with respect to NRS 490, Article 9's efforts to, actually, I stand corrected, 8, safety training and education relating to use of off-highway vehicles. Can you just again review how this, I believe you're asking for a Polaris Ranger, how you're going to, I know there's a lot of railroad track out there, but how you're going to increase the awareness and the message to stay off the tracks and just keep driving that message home.
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks for the question. It's an important one. That's where we utilize, when I talk about in the grant about educational platform, what I'm talking about is we're implementing two scenarios, one at the Sandy Valley School and one down in Prim Valley for major events. And part of that is basically an educational booth where we have our Razor. We're proud of the side-by-side. It looks cool. It allows people not in the confrontational way to ask any question that they want. It's an informal conversation, right? When you pull people over, their goal is not to talk to you about OHV safety, right? The conversation comes from the officer. What we want to do is create a platform where people are comfortable enough to get that information, to pass that information along, to have a conversation with an officer, not in the realm of a traffic stop, but just in the realm of a conversation. And our goal is to go into these places, like these major events, where we can reach out and touch the most people. If we're out on the Hidden Valley side on the ridgeline and we come across a side-by-side with a dad and a son, that has limited impact with our conversation. If we go down to Prim during the Mint 400 and set up a booth where we're giving out literature and having these conversations, and there's that comfort zone, we're reaching hundreds and hundreds of people in a span of 10 hours. The same 10 hours that it took us to find the father and son on the ridgeline in Hidden Valley. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Well, thank you for that. Just a final question. I'm fairly new to the commission. Metro Police Department, what current UTVs do you guys have as part of this program? How many and what style?
I can't speak on how many OHVs the department has as a whole. We have 3 resident sections. We each have one. But then you look at counterterrorism, you look at emergency management. They have them too. I can only speak for my station. We have one, and it does its job. It does its job at a low level. It doesn't have the amenities that we need. One of my goals going into this was, how can I take the program that we have and make it better? One is the ability for the officers to stay in the vehicle, because right now with the Razor that we have, it doesn't have heat, it doesn't have air conditioning, it doesn't have windows, it doesn't have a bed to put equipment in, it doesn't have nothing. So right now what's happening is the guys will go out there, but the time is limited because the heat, the cold, they don't have their equipment. So if they have to deal with something law enforcement related during the program, they either have to stop what they're doing, drive back to get their trucks, which has all the stuff, or drive back to the station. It loses its momentum. So my goal is to be able to keep the officers in the OHV with their equipment so they can maintain their job and not have it being interrupted, throughout the day.
Excellent. as long as it's accounting for the split that, Chair, excuse me, as long as it's before, like, Chair Maurice White has alluded to. So, thank you, Sergeant Pickerel.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
My blood sugar. I know your name.
Any questions from commissioners on the internet? I did have one final question I overlooked. On page 20, you have the BLM MOU for operating on federal grounds. However, if you look on the page just before the signature page at number K, that would be 20 in the packet here. That MOU has expired December 31, 2022. You do have a letter from Mr. Soames from the BLM supporting this application for a grant. Do you see this to be a malfunction? Do you still have a landowner agreement for you to operate on BLM ground?
100%. And you bring up a good point, and let me just clarify it a little bit. The state line residence section, we have a couple MOUs. One we have with San Bernardino in California that allows us to go into California. Those are signed by the two sheriffs. We also have MOUs with the Forestry Service and BLM. Those are what's called rolling MOUs, meaning they are addressed and re-signed and updated constantly over the course of years. Now, I cannot speak for the sheriff and I cannot speak for our department with this, but as you know, we just got a new sheriff. What his timeline is to re-up these MOUs, I couldn't tell you, but I can tell you these MOUs are in place, they're active, and we use them all the time. And regardless, like I said, we have an MOU with California. That is a political hand grenade if I don't get it right, because we are in another state.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
there's a clause in there that says it stays in force until it's redone. Because I'm familiar with that too. I'm on an MOU with the state of Nevada that's honestly about 5 or 6 years expired and we've never renewed it, but the clause says it keeps going until it's updated. So
yeah,
that's
absolutely. And
this
I
MOU
can tell you with confidence, again, I cannot speak for the sheriff and I cannot speak of but what I can tell you is our MOUs are active. They're ongoing. It's a rolling cycle, and I stand behind it.
All right, very good. That's all I had. So what's the pleasure of the board? You want to go to lunch? You want to power through?
Is there an opportunity to have it brought in, we could work through it?
Maybe Nikhil can
Do pizza. That's what you want.
I'll donate.
What do you get? What do you want? Let's take like 10 minutes, at least 10 minutes here.
I don't want to forget anybody else's name because I'm normally very good with names.
Need a donut?
Or donuts, yeah.
No, I think it's sugar up enough.
Could we get over to the Mexican restaurant in back in 30 minutes?
When you get the Jack in the Box back in 30
Good to get some fresh air, huh?
Yeah, take a proper lunch. The commission should take a proper lunch. But right now, we should let you know that you're about half an hour behind the schedule.
Yeah.
You think we could get back between in 30 or that?
Can you get
that's a
back
lot
on
of
lunch?
lunch, have Mexican restaurant.
Get back at
Let's-
1 o'clock.
Oh, you're not gonna get it
40
done
minutes.
at 12:30
20 minutes.
Mexican
You'll
restaurant.
be on time. You'll come back at 1.
Let's,
Just we have this.
We could go further
Yeah, I know.
and break later.
Hey, do you guys mind if I say something real quick?
go ahead.
Yeah, I want to thank the board for one. Like I said, this was my very first time ever doing this. And I just want to say it was actually an enjoyable process. It was a lot of work, but I also want to thank the people at headquarters that basically took me under their wing and said, this is the direction it needs to go. So I just want to thank you guys for your time. I want to thank you for the process. And if you guys can reach out to me 24/7.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Sergeant Pickerel.
Okay,
All right,
let's target for 30. And let's go grab something to eat. Frankly, I'm just gonna go up to Jack in the Box and get some nuggets. That'll probably be it.
Plan to reconvene at 1 o'clock. It gives you a 40 minute.
Okay,
1
if we
o'clock.
do that, that should put us back in luck, because we're actually scheduled for an hour and a half for a 2-hour lunch. So let's.
No,
You were.
Coming back.
30 minutes, 5 minutes, run back.
So then we're going.
So let's
I'm
try
either
to.
gonna hold us to.
Okay, we're gonna
Mexican
recess.
restaurant. One of the-
Where? Oh,
or the Mexican restaurant.
I'll go with this guy.
Where you headed?
Either Chipotle or the Mexican.
There you go.
All right, thanks, everyone. I'll see you all at noon, or sorry, at 1.
Yeah, Taco Bell's on the north side.
It'll be at 1 o'clock, Mr. Walsh. Thank you.
Perfect, thank you.
What is it?
Taco Bell's south.
kill this room.
Um,
Nikhil.
okay. You've been on there the whole time?
Yep.
Uh, let me see how much funding there was for this one, because I think they do 2 rounds. $750.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you're right. Holy crap. I thought it was more than that.
So Mikhail kind of was just, he says, I don't make the decisions. He says, I'm just going off what I'm being kind of told by some of these, because they've seen the proposals already. So they kind of have their minds made up. But he's just like, he says, they might change their minds. He said, I'm just not feeling a good vibe about the groomer in your grant. He says, but the other stuff, he says, they were pretty impressed with. He says, the last stuff you guys did and how fast it got done.
And that's what they'll go by, yeah. Hopefully, yeah.
And everything good, Zach?
This is Anthony Walsh, just to let you know your mic is on.
Oh,
Oh my gosh, man.
sorry.
No worries.
Is everybody ready to go, or are you guys still at lunch?
I think everyone's still at lunch.
Are you the only one there?
As far as I know.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah. Extra large. Oh my. Oh. What the fuck? Oh no, I'll stick your cup. Yeah. Hey, Marvin.
Hey, Bubba, how's it going, buddy? I'm here. I was trying to pick up your panel. I like Square D or Siemens. They got Eaton, but I don't like these Eaton panels, so I'm gonna have to order you one.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll let you know as soon as when I can get it. I'll call the suppliers in Vegas, see if they can ship me out one.
Okay.
I just don't like these Eatons, man. These freaking panels. I don't have much good luck with them.
Okay. I've never used them, so.
Yeah, they're just made cheap. The breakers are hard to freaking find for the VRs.
Oh, really? Okay.
And you said they're going to be there in a few days to just screen when the steers were in?
Yeah, they're expecting the stairs on Tuesday or Wednesday. And they say once, those guys are pretty quick. They did what we saw there, in a day, actually half a day. So.
All right, so if I got you on the schedule that next week or the week after, that might work then, huh?
I think it will.
Okay, yeah, I got to open the week after that, so I'll put you on those 2 days.
Okay.
Rough day for you, just so you do their shit.
Okay, touch bases there. I can do it if you want. I don't know if it was Joe at Top Rank that.
Okay, yeah, I think I still got his number. I
Okay.
gave him a call. Yeah, we're getting back up about 2 weeks behind almost right now, so I just want to make sure I get you in before we get booked out too far.
Okay, well that's good. Yeah.
Right, I won't leave you hanging, man.
Well, we can do that panel with the stairs in the way. It would just be easier with the stairs not in the way, but yeah. So
Right, well, I'm gonna see if I can get one here by the end of hopefully next day or two.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Even a Siemens, they have a Siemens in stock. I know I can probably get that tomorrow.
Yeah.
But I'll let you know this afternoon, though.
Okay, yeah. Siemens. I mean, like on the jobs I did, it seemed like Siemens was everything, So it was.
Yeah, they're a little more expensive than Square D, but I haven't had too much trouble with them.
Right. Well, maybe they're a little more.
Square D guy.
Okay, maybe they're a little expensive. Okay, there you go. Yeah, Square D. It's like the right price and the right quality. So
Right.
roll in the line. Yeah.
Yeah, as soon as I get down here, I'll give him a call and I'll let you know.
Okay. All
All
right.
right, thanks, Paulo. We'll talk to you later.
All right. Thank you. Catch you there.
Come on.
Nah, let's fuck it. Oh, no. Fuck it. Like strong.
Somebody needs to check to make sure that they click mute on their computer.
Hey, thanks for the heads up, Kevin. We're just getting started and getting the scores in order up till now. Thanks, Kevin.
January 12 meeting of Nevada Commission on Off-Highway Vehicles back to order. At this time, we are on agenda item number 8. And we are getting ready to have presentations from the project Return to Dirt. Is that correct? We're all good on the same page?
9 on my list, not 8, or am I off?
No, I have, this is number 10 that we're doing.
9 to be heard.
Yeah, we've done 1 through 9 already.
Yeah, we did through Las Vegas Metropolitan Police
Correct.
Department. The next one is Return to Dirt. Okay?
Okay.
Are the Return to Dirt folks ready to go?
Yeah, we're here.
Okay. Please state your name and you can begin your presentation, please.
Okay. I'm Ali Karakozov. I'm the grant writer for High Fives Foundation. With me today is Tim Burr, who's the founder of Return to Dirt.
Hey, what's happening, everybody? Glad to be here.
Thank you for being here. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having us. Is it okay if I share my screen?
Can we get some volume? Go ahead. Volume on this end.
Is it okay if I share my screen?
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay. Can you all see my screen?
Yep.
Okay, great.
I see you.
Oh, you can see my presentation now?
No.
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 Oh. Oh, sorry. It's because I have 2 screens. There we go. Did that fix it?
Not yet.
Sorry, 1 second. Okay.
We'll just let those nuggets digest.
You can see my screen now, right?
Negative.
No? Oh, shoot. Sorry, 1 more second. Why isn't this working? Are you guys getting a notification on your end about me trying to share?
Nope, there's no notices. You should be free to share the screen.
Okay.
There should be 2 options. One, you can share a window or your direct screen. You can also email it to me and I can share it here.
Is that okay? Okay.
Sure.
What's the best email?
It's, I'm gonna try and drop it in this chat instead.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Sorry about this, everyone.
Nope, for public meetings, we have to turn off the chat because we can't document it. So I'm going to email it to you.
Okay. I don't understand why it won't let me share. This is so weird. It was working for a second.
All right, Allie, it's coming to you now.
Awesome.
Anybody else on the call, if you're going to be facing these issues, you can also email the presentation to Nikhil Markevich. And my contact information is at the bottom of today's meeting agenda.
Okay. Nikhil, I just sent it back. Am I saying your name right?
Yes.
Okay. I guess, yeah, I can just tell you when to proceed through the presentation.
In the old days when they just showed up with a whiteboard.
It's so much easier.
The chalkboard. I can't even know that. We had overhead.
Overhead projector.
Yeah, with the transparencies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Still have to be part of that. Just barely.
The tail end, then we transitioned to PowerPoint.
Yeah.
Hey, Ally, we're still waiting on it.
Oh, it should be arriving any second. It looks like the email went through.
Yep, that's okay.
Is that how you're doing it? Yeah. I'm working with what?
Unfortunately, it's backwards on the. It's computer.
Remember how we came back early so we'd be up to run?
You have a test.
We'll take public comment.
Think it'll- It's on the
Yeah.
last layer. So I'm just kicking it around, it's going.
Next office. Looking at trouble.
Hey, Ally, can you continue trying to share your screen?
Yes.
Okay.
Let me check the display.
Whatever comes through first.
Keyboard.
settings.
Yeah,
There it is.
this is a Logitech. The next best thing is.
It came through?
Yes, I'll have it
Awesome.
up on my side.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Okay, can you see that?
I would know.
Yes.
Which is the technical. So.
It's pretty cool.
Basically.
It is.
All right, commissioners. We're set.
Ready to go?
Yeah.
again?
Yeah,
Okay.
all set.
We're back underway.
Thank
Go
you.
ahead
Sorry
and,
about
Mr.
that.
Those that have recently joined us, go ahead and reintroduce yourself and tell us what you're doing.
Okay. I'm Ally Karakozoff. I'm the grant writer for High Fives Foundation. With me today is Tim Burr, who's the founder of Return to Dirt Nevada. And our project is High Fives Foundation Return to Dirt Nevada 2023 to 2024. Next slide, please. So this is just kind of a high-level overview. All of this information is in our proposal, but the project timeline is March 1st of this year through December 1st of next year. We are a nonprofit organization. Our focus area for this proposal is safety training and education related to the use of off-highway vehicles and registration. The project location is the North Reno Recreation Area, also known as Moon Rocks. The land control is managed by the Bureau of Land Management, Carson City District, and our total 2-year budget request is $82,231. Next slide, please. So a little background on High Fives Foundation. Our mission is to focus on preventing life-changing injuries. Examples of those are spinal cord injuries, traumatic brain injuries, amputations, or other mobility limiting injuries. And we also provide resources and hope if they happen. And our vision as an organization is to create a universal shift in adventure sports that expands what's possible for individuals who have faced these kinds of injuries. Our reach right now is 579 individuals and veterans from 44 states and Canada. And these are our core values as an organization. Next slide, please. So I can let Tim speak to this a little bit more, but just at a high level, Return to Dirt is an adaptive motorsports program service of High Fives Foundation. So this was its own nonprofit, and High Fives acquired Return to Dirt as a program service of High Fives this past summer. And Return to Dirt's mission is to provide equipment and instruction for individuals with disabilities to pilot off-road vehicles into the backcountry and places that wouldn't be accessible to them otherwise. We've had 128 or more participants, over 5,000 UTV miles driven. Tim, did you want to say anything else about Return to Dirt?
Yeah, absolutely. So, like has been said, my name is Tim Burr, and I started Return to Dirt as an independent organization in 2018. And then I have had a close relationship with the High Fives Foundation since my original injury. I actually broke my neck backcountry skiing in 2014, and the High Fives Foundation has offered me significant grants and community, what we call the Ohana, within the program since then, and sort of guided me in growing this program to the point that they agreed to absorb what Return to Dirt does as a program service of the High Fives Foundation, just to make sure that that's all obvious. And then what we do at Return to Dirt through High Fives now is we use off-road vehicles that have hand controls and all manner of other adaptations to get people out of their wheelchairs or unlimited from whatever their mobility limits might be and into the backcountry, which if you haven't ever considered what that level of freedom means to somebody, essentially we're taking someone a lot of times with High Fives athletes in particular that come from extreme sports or otherwise, we are allowing them to access areas of the world that they have been and they're no longer able to get to. And then we're using OHVs as the best vehicle possible for that, as far as the adaptations, the ease of entry and exit, and then obviously the capability. So, and I can answer more questions about specific Return to Dirt stuff as we go forward, but I'll probably hand the mic off now.
Slide, please. So our approach for this project is twofold. One is the Return to Dirt experience, which kind of focuses more on the accessibility and inclusion side or focus area. And then we have part two, which is educational videos. These are created by Generical Designs. I know he's worked on some other Nevada off-highway vehicle programming, such as I think Reno area dirt riders. So he's the one who actually told us about the North Reno recreation area, recommended it. So part one for Return to Dirt, this funding will help us expand into Nevada. So historically, this program has been run in Colorado and in Truckee or in California, and we're really expanding a lot of our pillars of sport and program services into Nevada. So that's why this area is so important to us. So as we've said before, this will help facilitate accessibility and inclusion in off-roading. And then for the education videos, Chris Bartowski of Generical Designs has committed to creating 2 to 3 4 to 5 minute professional quality videos. Later in this presentation, we have the video topics, but at a high level, they'll focus on safety and trail etiquette, spotlighting the importance of titling and annual registration of off-highway vehicles, and documenting, showcasing, and highlighting which trails within the Moon Rocks recreational area are accessible to all. Next slide, please. So these are just some photos to kind of paint a picture of what we're doing here. This is a photo of the Can-Am Commander, which is a bit bigger than the traditional UTV. I believe it can seat 4, and it's more useful for utility. So especially when it comes to assisting individuals with wheelchairs, this vehicle is big enough to be able to carry all the things that are necessary to do that. The photo at the bottom middle is an example of aftermarket build hand modifications that are needed for these vehicles to be operated for someone who might have paraplegia or tetraplegia. And then the photo to the right is a picture of the Moon Rocks recreation area. And then we have a quote from one of our athletes who has participated in a couple of Return to Dirt experiences. Next slide, please. And then yes, part 2, the educational video series. So as we said before, any vehicles that are associated with this project will be titled and annually registered in the state of Nevada. The videos will focus on this, highlighting the decal stickers, really enforcing this for the general public. And then some video topics, as I mentioned before, safety, etiquette, trail maintenance, pre-ride checklist, navigation, and how to help and get involved in this community. Next slide. And then this is just our contact info if you have any questions. I think, yeah, that's the end of our presentation, so we can open it up to questions from you all and the commissioners.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you being here today. Any questions from here in the room?
I have Commissioner Spiro comment.
Okay.
I'm familiar with the high fives and also the return to dirt. I watched the video series that went out, I believe, your event in Colorado last summer, perhaps. This is a category of off-road that is yet to be talked about really in my time here on the commission. So first, thank you for bringing this grant to us to work with. And second, thank you for bringing this grant to us to work with. This is exciting, and I could see kind of being like a pillar type thing for the state of Nevada to embark on this. So thank you. That's all.
Certainly an interesting idea that I had never considered. How about
We're
on
really
this end of
here, honestly.
questions over here?
Yes, Commissioner. I have two. Going through your budget, if I understand correctly, you'll be purchasing a vehicle. Is that correct? That will be outfitted, and will that vehicle be owned by you, or will it be given as a gift to somebody? How does that work?
That will be owned by us and remain on site.
Okay. And then I didn't see a quote, and maybe I missed it in the application for the K&M. And I'm going to piggyback on what I'm learning, and I apologize. I'm trying to understand everything here. Did you get a quote from Nevada dealers? Or I know you're based out of Truckee, California. Just wondering if you looked around in Nevada for those quotes.
Actually, no, we just used the available pricing information online and then got a quote from previous people we've worked with as far as the aftermarket build outs. So no, we didn't actually get a direct quote from Nevada, but we can do that.
Okay, and then on the promotional video, I see, because you said this is a 2-year program for your budget, you'll do one video the first year for $10,000, and then the next year another video.
That's correct.
That is correct. Okay.
Yes.
And
they'll possibly end up being more videos just because those main ones are about 4 to 5 minutes long, and we tend to share these videos on multiple media channels. So we have our website, we do email blasts, we have a pretty large following on social media, so we might have to tailor those for kind of different audiences. So that's why there's a little flexibility on the number of videos, but for sure, one 4 to 5 minute video per year.
okay, and are those videos tailored towards the individual who just, has been disabled that went out and experienced, say, the moon rocks, or is it multiple people, individuals? I don't know if you have that set up conceptually yet. I'm just kind of curious.
I can probably answer that just based on our experiences with working with Chris. The intention is for it to reach a broad audience because we have a lot of different people following us, whether it's sports enthusiasts, individuals with life-changing injuries, like it kind of runs the gamut of all different types of people, all walks of life. So it is meant for the general public. However,
I could say something to this also.
yes, please do.
Yeah. So in the past, when we have worked with Chris, we capture what we call like a camp type vibe, I guess you could say. So it probably wouldn't be on one specific individual, but a handful of individuals, because we try and be as efficient as possible when we make the trip out away from Colorado where we're based, that we would want to get multiple people out at one time and capture all of that, especially since one of our main points that I mentioned at the beginning is the Ohana, and that's the community aspect of what we're doing. So having the camaraderie shown between athletes that are, you know, experiencing the freedom that our vehicles can give all at once, and then tailoring the video to show the accessibility side, which was our part one, and then the educational side of the secondary part that is all about registration and especially responsible UTV use and OHV exploration, because we focus on that on our own, and so we would love to have support from you guys to keep doing so.
Thank you. Those are all my questions.
Okay, I'll kind of piggyback on that video questions. You know, in your application, you talked about your educational videos are fun and entertaining. So I spent some time watching a number of your videos. I did not see in your current videos the kind of training and trail awareness stuff that I think we're looking for as a commission. I saw guys out having fun and gals and telling us what a great experience it is. So these training videos are from our perspective, are really geared towards good stewardship, what the OHV grant program does for the community in general, rather than just exposing what the good work that you folks do. Secondarily, I did see a couple of times in those videos with your equipment off the trail in the brush for no apparent reason. So that's not something that we find to be acceptable from our point of view.
Of course.
Say again?
I just said, of course not.
Of course not. Oh, okay. It says that Return to Dirt is based in Reno on page 7. Then on page 8, let's see. Page 6, it says if you get the grant, you will expand to Nevada. I see a certificate of good standing from California Secretary of State, but I don't see any information from the Nevada Secretary of State that you are actually a Nevada organization.
I apologize. That's probably my mistake. I was basically trying to articulate that Return to Dirt Nevada is another location of Return to Dirt. So I'm mistaken in saying that it's located in Reno. It originally was created in Colorado. We've expanded it into Truckee, and with this, we're hoping to expand into Nevada.
You are registered with the Nevada Secretary of State?
No. California.
Okay. Let's see. So as far as the equipment is concerned, you've written your grant, I think it's on page 12. You've written your grant for 2022 programming. We're currently in 23, granting for 23-24. So what's the discrepancy there?
I'm sorry, where was it? 2022?
That's on your budget on page 12 in equipment. Right there towards the bottom, it talks about Exhibit C estimates, Exhibit D photographs, visualization for adapted UTVs for 2022 programming.
I see. Let me clarify. The visualizations were, or the photos of the adaptations were from 2022. Maybe I just worded that weird, but I was basically trying to say that this is what we did for the 2022 programming.
Okay. I didn't see any narrative in your grant request, talking about maintenance and repair, and storage of this vehicle. I wonder if you realize that while this grant is for 23, 24, the language in the grant talks about for a minimum of 25 years or the life of the project. That vehicle's life is substantially longer than 2 years. So you will be responsible to be reporting to this program the activities of that vehicle. You good with that?
Yes.
Okay. Let's go back to the Secretary of State question. Are you perhaps registered under another name? Like High Five Foundation nonprofit?
It's possible.
Okay.
Hey, Chair, I'll step in and kind of do that research, look that up, but if the decision for funding comes down to this, we can ask the organization to complete that registry within X amount of time, 30 days, or make the funding contingent on that.
So I found both High Five and Return to Dirt under different names at the Secretary of State. So I'm curious how come the folks presenting don't know that. And why it wasn't included in the application. That's all the questions I have. Do we have any questions from commissioners on the internet? I don't hear any.
Could I get a clarification on, you said that Return to Dirt was registered under the Secretary of State? Is that what you're saying?
I can't hear him.
Yeah, he asked for clarification that you stated that they are registered with the Secretary of State, Return to Dirt and High Five in Nevada.
Return to Dirt and High Five names are registered with the Nevada Secretary of State under, I don't know why I didn't write it down. Return to Dirt Foundation nonprofit or nonprofit foundation, something of that matter. And I don't know why it's not in my notes.
Thank you for the update then.
Yeah.
You bet.
And thank you for the grace around that. I'm sorry for that gap.
Okay. You have any final comments you'd like to leave us with?
Thank you very much for your time. This has been, it's our first time doing this, so we really appreciate all of the great feedback and questions and just you guys listening to us.
All right. Thank you very much. Appreciate you being here. You guys are really doing, that's a good project.
Cool. We think so too.
All right.
Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so at this point, we're going to take a minute and update our scores.
Chair, do you mind if I ask if City of Mesquite is on board for the next presentation and square away their?
Yeah, if you want to get everybody queued up while we're
We-
taking care of this minor little distraction.
All right.
City of Mesquite is here and ready for the grilling.
Geez, I hope it's not that bad.
I'm just kidding. I've just been watching some of them. Hey, you guys are very thorough. Very thorough.
All right. Hey, Mr. Montoya, do you have any PowerPoints or anything to share?
I think I sent Nikel a video of our previous OHV station, but I can, if you give me access, I'll try to muddle through this to play it for you guys on the video that we have.
Yeah, I've got the link here, and I will share it on my side.
Okay.
Okay. The big question is, did mine come through?
Yeah, sorry. Oh, awesome.
Okay, we have my computer open now.
Hey, Mr. Montoya, it looks like I've got ad blocker on this St. George, Utah link, so I cannot share it.
Well, I guess I can try to play it on my side if you want me to.
Great.
If you give, I will do the best I can. I guess I can play it and you could listen. I don't know. I thought it would work over there for you guys. I tried it. I've tried it 3 or 4 times today and it works just great, but I don't know what you guys got.
Government firewalls.
Yeah. Not half my emails go to being quarantined.
Oh, there we go. Okay. I got it up. I can't even.
Okay.
Had to do it twice.
Is it thumbnail? Does it say? What's that? Roadmap?
No, see?
We are at world champions way stage.
Thank you. Thanks, Maurice.
Champions. Okay. Just those.
No. Nicholas, I'm not getting it. I'm not getting this to load without the St. George ad pop.
Okay. Does it say click to add or click to delete the ad?
He's returned to dirt.
Yeah, it looks like you are blocking ads while visiting our sites. Share it with you.
You know what, I didn't look at the today. Or trucking, or she in trucking. They're all their officers are like address to trucking. Oh, okay. High fives. Which honestly, that's common for corporations.
Did you put it on yours?
I got it on mine.
Registered here in the Secretary of State doing business, but all their officers be somewhere else. That's not an issue, but it seems to.
Nicholas, you're gonna have to share it on your screen or just reference the video.
Okay. Open share tray.
Okay, if we're ready to go ahead and introduce yourself and give us your presentation.
Okay. Well, myself, I'm Nicholas Montoya, Director of Athletics and Leisure Services for the City of Mesquite. And I have Carol Hollis, our grants manager here as well.
Hello.
So her and I have been writing this grant together. As you know, last year we did a staging area in Mesquite, Nevada, on the south side of Mesquite, on the riverside side by the Virgin River, if you're familiar with Mesquite at all. Anyway, it was a pretty good success, and I'm going to share this with you right now and play it. Hopefully, are you seeing it?
Yep. It's chattering along.
Well, I don't, the volume.
I don't think the volume will work because you're not getting a smooth feed.
Excuse me?
You're not getting a smooth feed, so volume probably won't work. Now it's stopped.
Yeah, I stopped it because you asked a question, I guess. So.
Oh, go ahead.
So that was the article that was done for the city. That was for the city of Mesquite, but St. George was here. We had local news and everybody here. And actually, if you probably saw Nikel up there, he was up there helping with the ribbon cutting as well. So anyway, we also, if you can you see me?
No,
Oh, hold on.
you see a big N in the middle of the, there you go.
There I am. Sorry. Sorry. So after that, after the opening, what we did is we worked with Nevada OHV and then also Travel Nevada, and we sent out about 20,000 of these tent cards that go in rooms, hotel rooms, and it's got the Nevada OHV down here and Travel Nevada down here, and as you can see right here, we have a QR code where you can scan that, and it brings up our application, our city application right here. It's a city app that has points of interest, parks and trails, OHV information, frequently asked questions, special events, regional recreation, and stuff like that. So we send this out to hotels on I-15, Las Vegas, Caliente, just other areas around the entire southern part of the state. We've tried to send some up to some hotels in Wendover because we want people to click the QR code so we can track how many people are actually using this app to find out about OHV. And we do have some information from our IT department about that, and they say they're getting about between 600 and 650 clicks on our app for people downloading it, and that's something that was put out by Nevada OHV and Travel Nevada. So and we're also getting information on how many people are using the current facility that we have on the south side of Mesquite. So we're just we're pretty excited about this. It's getting used quite a bit. I don't know if you listened to the first part, but we have a wash station down there, cameras, lights, restroom, picnic tables. Actually, there's a kiosk on its way, an informational kiosk. It's been purchased and everything already. It's just getting supplies around here it takes a while. So anyway, but we got most of it done pretty quick, built out and ready to go. And another thing that we're doing here in Mesquite to help with the OHV users and riders is we just changed our codes in the city to allow OHVs to travel throughout the entire city. As long as they have turn signals, brakes, windshield, and rear view mirrors, and you have to be 16 and with a driver's license. So before, there was a couple streets in the city that they couldn't ride on. So we're looking to do some bigger events here, like jamborees, poker runs. We're working with the Kokopelli ATV Club and the Virgin Valley Jeep Club. And we're actually going to be putting a couple spooling stations at this location, the OHV location now. And then if we get funding for this new one, we would put spooling stations at that one as well. We have a lot of people that have a lot of winches and I mean, it's just crazy how many people this is affecting. So it's booming. So anyway, do you have anything?
No.
Does anyone have any questions or concerns? I'd like to answer those.
How about our commissioners on the internet? Do you guys have any questions? No hands up. Are they still there, Nikhil?
Yes.
Yeah, quiet today.
Really quiet.
Robert Adams is online and Brian Parks, Commissioner Parks is also online.
Okay.
He went to do a attendance check.
Does anybody have any questions here in the room?
Nicholas, I just had a question. When you mentioned app downloads, how many, is that 650 a day, a month, a week?
That they're looking at, so these are in hotel rooms. So they don't, it's about 650 a month. Between 600 and 650, they couldn't give me an actual number. So these tent cards stay in the hotel rooms, and we actually send a bunch of them everywhere. So I mean, and we send them extras too, because you know some of them get destroyed, and so we're really trying to establish a recreation and tourism aspect here in Mesquite, since we're so close to all these national parks, right here on the border in Nevada too. And another thing is when we have tournaments on the weekends, I don't know how many of you are familiar with Mesquite. We're kind of a sports destination as well. So what we're seeing a lot of is people are starting to bring their ATVs and OHVs with them as they come to these sporting events with their children, and they're taking off from here and going all over the place during breaks and in between games and stuff like that. So it's just booming. We're very excited about it. The economic development that's happening with the businesses on this is immense. Maverick, there's a Maverick store down there by that, and it's just they're excited. And we also have just a business that opened up about the same time as the OHV opened up, that does they're called Rocky Mountain Off-Road, and they've actually want to donate to us to help with some of the funding on the marketing. So we're looking at partnering with them on some of this stuff, because their business has just been booming as well. So it's pretty exciting for a lot of different people, because they're
Very
really
exciting.
close.
Sorry to cut you off there, Nicholas. So yeah, I wanted to scan through the economic integration piece. There's 3 paragraphs here. So I see all the macro, the nationwide numbers, and you mentioned there's a lot of excitement, a lot of buzz with the Maverick and some other businesses. What direct impact do you feel like the existing staging areas had, and now this new staging area? And just put it in perspective, I'm a Las Vegas-based commissioner for the ATV section, so this is sort of in my own back, my adopted yard.
So I want to talk about how safe because the OHV staging area we have now is lit with cameras. They used to park on the other side of the river, which is Mesquite and Bunkerville are two different. One's a township and one's a city. So everyone was parking on the Bunkerville side, which is a township, which Las Vegas Metro kind of patrols. So people were parking over there, and they were getting, and you know well as I do, some people have $150,000 rigs that they're pulling their $100,000 or $50,000 OHVs, and they were getting their vehicles broken into. Since we've started the OHV staging area, people have been parking in there, and not one vehicle has been broken into. Nothing has been stolen out of there, because it is just, and it's giving people a peace of mind. I mean, that is important. I mean, let's say you're going on a 2-day ride over the top of the mountain because not Lake Powell, but the Grand Canyon is about 80 miles from our backyard if you go over the top of the mountains. So a lot of people go out there, drive out there, camp out the North Rim, by the North Rim, and then drive back. But it's a peace of mind for people to know that their vehicles and rigs are safe when they go on these big rides. But from the economic standpoint, All of our businesses here are doing well. Just for that, there's a gas station, like I said, Maverick, and then there's a Hertz Rebel right down the street from there. So people will unload and go fill up there and then go on the rides. I mean, it's just grab their snacks, whatever you think, and it's just the economic development is just it's doing very well with the OHV right now. And you saw the national numbers and the Nevada numbers. So it's doing very well. I hope I answered that.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Nicholas. I'm complete.
Yeah, there's no doubt that trailhead robberies are a big deal. Folks know that. These folks go out there with a lot of gear left behind in their trucks and their vehicles.
They say less economy for the glass guys, the glass repair guys. More for Mesquite and less for the window replacement guys.
Yeah, no kidding. So I went to look at your website to see, to get some information on that Riverside trailhead that was built. Just kind of, I guess, as a little personal side note, being somebody absolutely not aware of anything about your community, I don't feel like your website was necessarily intuitive how to find the OHV stuff. But it wasn't that big a deal. But I will say that I saw nowhere on your website indicating that OHV grants help support that Riverside trailhead. I think there should be somewhere, at least on the specific sections that talks about the Riverside.
And just to give you a heads up on our, and I'm not trying to make excuses, believe me, on our website, we're actually in the process of kind of changing over a person that actually updates it. So that's in the process right now with the IT and city manager's office of changing that over. But I think I do have some pictures where we did a plaque, and it actually has Nevada OHV's logo on the plaque at the site. And I could send you that. I think Nikhil has a picture of that somewhere. But I agree with you. And on our Facebook page, our recreational and tourism Facebook page, it does have all that information on there about how Travel Nevada or Nevada OHV helped us with the program. But we can expound on that.
Okay. Through your application,
Okay.
the way you talk about it, it seems like you put an awful lot of emphasis on riding in Arizona and Utah. When I look at the Google Maps and did some measuring, you're 30 miles. Nearest place you get into Utah is 30 miles away. So how much do you think when people offload here at these two trailheads, specifically the one you're asking for grants for today, how much do you suppose is actually done in Nevada and is actually in Arizona and Utah?
Well, I'm going to be truthful. I don't know if I can answer that question because I don't know which way people can go into Nevada and then come all the way back around through Arizona and then head into Utah. Me as a OHVer, I'm going to be honest with you. I've been to the North Rim in Arizona probably 6 or 7 times, but I got to go through Nevada to get to Arizona. I go through Whitney or towards Lincoln County quite a bit because we ride out to Caliente a lot. And in the past, Cocopelli Riding Club has just finished up, I think it was a year or so ago, maybe longer, they finished up trail mapping out there. And we actually sell maps to people to if they want to go that way so they know which directions they can go and follow the marker signs. there is quite a bit of people that head out there, and actually, we went out to Caliente for Thanksgiving. We ride out there every Thanksgiving, have Thanksgiving there, and then we ride back. It's a good 140-mile ride, and going out there, we probably passed, I want to say 60 groups, of vehicles, go in different directions, and that's all in Nevada. And then I actually, my parks manager, he checks the major holidays and then also the weekends for how many people are down to there. And we're averaging between 15 and 20 vehicles, rigs at the OHV staging area on the weekends. So, but I can't tell you exactly how many people stay at the staging area, unload there, and then head to Arizona or Utah, because I've done both, and then I've gone into Nevada too. So it's an area where you can go everywhere. A lot of great riding in this area.
So I wonder, with our concern that when we spend these, grant these monies, that they drive an economic value to your community. I wonder if perhaps you could do a couple of things, maybe put trail counters, so you actually know how many people are using the trailheads. And secondly, maybe you could, your local hotels, when they send out their satisfaction surveys, ask them if they came there to OHV or not.
That would be very simple to do, the hotel stuff. The trail counters.
Be back for a grant for that.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I can get with the we work very closely with the hotels here. We have 3 big hotels, and I could get with their quality assurance people and ask them if they could start asking those questions. Is there just that one question, or is it you want to ask if they stay in Nevada to ride, or if they?
Sure, let's do all of that afterwards.
No, we should stay just with this. That was just a side suggestion, so. We'll
Okay.
stay on the agenda item here. We can take that conversation up another day.
Okay.
That's all the questions I had.
Commissioner.
Yes.
I do have a quick question. At the staging area, because it sounds like it's growing, is there a law enforcement aspect? I know you said the presence is there for vandalism or, theft, but what about from a registration standpoint? I think we're all benefiting from the increase, number of registrations, and we can continue to fund more and more programs. And my understanding, this is phase 2 of your phase 3 of staging areas. Is that correct?
Yes.
And so I'm just curious, is that information out to promote the registrations for those folks coming into your area?
So most people that come to Mesquite, because other states already have registrations set in place for their OHVs. And I've spoke with the chief of police and a couple of the lieutenants that kind of handle this. Most people that are coming here already have all this stuff in place and set up, ready to go. But we do work with the police quite a bit to do this, and they've actually had a couple areas down there where they set up and just ask people when they come in on a busy weekend to see if they're registered. And most of the people that come in are already registered in another state. I know Nevada doesn't have a registration or a license, but like Utah and Arizona, you have to be licensed. And that's where we're seeing a lot of our tourism come from. And California, I think, has to have a license as well. So that's where we're seeing a lot of our visitors come from. But I think that we're working, or state legislation is trying to, or our legislator in our area, we've asked him to start looking into registrations and license plates for OHVs in Nevada, because that would alleviate a lot of this problem with the police departments.
Thank you. That's all I had, Commissioner.
Sorry, that was probably a long drawn out answer, huh?
No, it was good.
Commissioner Spiro, regarding the equipment you have included in your budget, am I missing it, or is there a quotation for that equipment and trailer you're looking to purchase?
Say that again. I didn't hear you.
Do you have a quotation for the Mini X and trailer included in your application?
I don't have a quote, but I did get the quote from a local business here in Mesquite, Nevada.
Okay, thank you. And then on the, to follow up on that, this equipment's been purchased with the proposed staging area to help in construction and aid in maintenance. Was there a Mini X purchased for the first staging area, and then how do they maintain it versus how you're going to maintain the new one if you own the equipment?
Yeah, there was no Mini X purchased on the first grant. The second grant we would like to purchase if you guys so let that happen. The city would maintain that and keep that under our fleet status. It would be under the same maintenance as any of our other equipment. We would bear all, just like the grant, we would take care of that as long as the machine works, and keep it working, keep it maintained well, and for as long as possible. Was there another?
Yeah, that's another question for me. If it's going to be engulfed in the city's equipment fleet, what portion of that Mini X use is going to be dedicated solely towards the OHV parking lot versus other city needs?
The main purpose is going to be for the trail grooming and OHV staging area maintenance. And I mean, I would say about 75% would be OHV staging, because we're going to have volunteers that are going to be trained on these things that are going to be maintaining the trails, and city staff around City Hall, not City Hall, but around the city washes and within our city limits. But probably 75% will be maintaining trails. And with this last washout, my son and I went out yesterday with this last rain. We went out there yesterday on a couple trails just for a quick ride right after school. And there's a bunch of, it was just crazy how some of these washes are just caved in, and you don't want to take your ride around dirt that hasn't been touched by OHVs or anything like that. And so, but you could see trails where people were going around stuff, and you want to try to keep them on the trails, because you get them out there doing something else, it just tears things apart.
Thank you. No further for me.
Are we all good?
I just wanted to clarify the use of that trail dozer equipment or this trail groomer. Is that going to be used on City of Mesquite trails, or would they be on trails on federal lands? And if they are the latter, then is there a agreement in place that it can be used on federal land?
So we would like to use that all over federal lands, City of Mesquite, Lincoln County. We want to share with the BLM and Clark County, because we work with them quite extensively. I've been speaking with Jimmy Linares of the BLM, and we'd like to get an agreement set in place. But I don't know if that's something we need before. I don't think it's gonna be a problem to get. And then they could use it. And matter of fact, they're coming out this next weekend, and they asked to help with some equipment. And at the time, I don't have any to help them with. But if we had this equipment, they could use it to lift stuff on the trailer and and help with this sort of activity and stuff. But we'd like to get something set in place as soon as possible if this gets approved.
Thanks.
Yeah, those landowner agreements needed to be in place at the time you made the application.
Okay.
Commissioner Glenn, I have a couple questions. If you're okay with that.
Yeah, go ahead.
On the usage on your streets, you stated that you had redone the requirements. Is a registered OHV a requirement?
No, it's not right now. It's not. They just want to make sure you have turn signals, your 16, brake lights, windshield, and you have to be, and it has to have insurance. So
Okay.
right now, those are what's in place. If you do mess up and they pull you over, they might ask you if you have your there's no licensing, but
No,
they want
there
to
is
make sure.
there is an OHV sticker that should easily
Yes.
be able to be seen from
Yeah.
any any police officer,
And
especially,
and if they,
oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, if they don't have one, I'm sure the officer's gonna say, hey, you need to get one. So
Good. I would think that would be, for any Nevada resident, that would be a requirement.
Yeah.
To me, I would think the city would want to revisit that and say, anybody that's, either you have a Utah license plate, Arizona license plate, or a Nevada OHV sticker on that thing, or you
And-
don't operate it.
And I think you're correct, because I think that's in there, that they need to have a registration sticker, that sticker, if they're driving their vehicles up and down the street in Mesquite. Mr. Stan Harger actually worked with them quite extensively on that, and I think that is in there. I'm almost positive it is, but we don't have license plates as of yet, because that has to go through state legislation.
Right, no, but there is a sticker, right? Nevada, Elko, where we're at, that's one of the requirements, is that they have to have a Nevada OHV registration decal on their unit, or they get pulled over. So, then the next question would be, so you haven't, one of the questions I had was if you had an environmental agreement with the BLM to do the work on the BLM, and if you would be opening closed trails, and like you were discussing with the washed out sections that you were coming up to that needed to be fixed, is that something that you would have to get agreement from the BLM to fix before you could go out and do that?
I'm sure some of those things we would have to get some, you're talking about NEPA studies.
Yes.
I'm sure we would have to get those agreements with the BLM to do that. Like I said, we've been in conversations with the BLM. They did not, I don't want to speak for them, but they were in agreement of getting the vehicle, but they said we needed to work out an agreement for land usage and to use it. So there's some hoops we need to jump through. I don't think those are going to be a problem. Again, I don't want to overspeak for the BLM, but we do have a great working relationship with the local BLM. We do work with them quite a bit on cleanups and other stuff, and the Division of Forestry, and then also Clark County, because we take care of Mesquite. Mesquite sits in Clark County, but outside Mesquite,
We're getting too far past our schedule
Yeah.
now. Keep going.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay, I think that's it.
Thanks, Mr. Montoya.
Thank you very much. We look forward to working with you.
Okay, well, thank you, and I'll wait to hear from Nikhil.
Okay, thank you.
Have a good afternoon.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah.
Okay. Feel ready to move forward? Scores in. Right.
You guys good?
Looks like we are ready for the Winnemucca Motocross Association. Is that you?
Yes, this meeting, we also have Jasmine Hughes is online. She's the president of the club, as well as Tink, she's our VP.
Okay, go ahead, state your name and let us know what you're doing.
Hi, I'm Justin McGee. I'm part of Winnemucca Motocross. We're the longest operating motocross track in northern Nevada. It was established in 2002. We became a nonprofit in 2010. We're completely volunteer-based nonprofit. We are a 501c4. So when we started the track, it's 100% maintained by the community members as well as out of pocket of board and club members. Our current board is part of this 501c4, is all community elected board members. We have regular meetings which the public can come to. We hold several different events at our track. So we hold our own series races before. We're currently Battleborn MX, which is out of Reno. We're one of their premier tracks. We held 3 races last season. We'll hold 3 races this season with them, and we've been with them since 2016. We also do high desert top trucks. They have an off-road course on the back section of our property that they do their season finale event at every year. They've been doing that since 2015. And then we also have in the past, as well as we are this year, a staging area and parking area for Moran races, desert races. So they have a designated place to park. We also work with Humboldt County Sheriff's Office on their Ride Safe, Ride Smart program. They use our facility for training their officers. They will also be out at all 3 of our, they've committed to come out to all 3 of our events in 2023 season as part of the OHV sticker program and education program that they'll be putting on. Our facility, like I said, we own the facility. The club owns the facility. We maintain trash cans out there, dumpsters. We try and keep the track in as good a shape as we can. That's part of the reason we're here today. Club members are required to have an OHV sticker on their dirt bikes or any other UTV, ATVs they bring out. Primarily as motocross track, right? And that's its primary intent, but it does get used for other things. We also give a $5 discount to anybody coming into our events that has an OHV sticker on their race bike. I'm not going to sit here and tell you everybody does, because some people, it's a strict race bike. It's only on closed courses, which don't require an OHV sticker. But we do encourage them to, because we do have a lot of guys that still go desert ride. So. We also have trainers that use our track for group events or one-on-ones. They're certified trainers that come out and use our track as well. Some are safe to ride. We also encourage youth in the community, right? Youth is the biggest part of our motocross club. That's our focus. We have people from all ranges, all ages, but our primary focus is on the youth. But we do utilize the youth quite a bit, volunteer based, and some positions are paid, like flyers for events, where they can learn computer skills, money handling. They help out the gates, collecting fees coming in, public relations, communication skills. Like I said, flagging, front gates, lap counting, and proper safety gear, making sure everybody's on board with that. When it comes to finding volunteers, especially for like flagging for events, we do reach out to our local community programs, like the high school 4-H and things like that when we're looking for those volunteers, so they can get their community service hours in and volunteer hours in, as well as people that are looking for state required volunteer hours come out and help out the track too. So the reason for the grant today, as we've grown, the economy has grown since COVID happened. There's been a large push, and I'm sure everybody here has seen it, for outdoor recreation. So in the last 2 years, our numbers at our events have grown exponentially. We've grown from an average 250 riders to over 600 entries in our last few races. So it's grown really huge, and we want to keep that momentum going. At the same time, a lot of our business partners have struggled due to COVID and the change in the economy. So with the donations in kind, which is how we've operated the track for so long, it's getting harder and harder to come by. The equipment's getting harder to rent. It's getting more expensive to rent. It's getting harder to find donations for equipment or operators. So that's the biggest reason that we're kind of making a shift now to try and get some equipment of our own. And part of it is too, with the loss of the sandbox in Fernley, that was a popular riding area. It was generally open. That is gone now. So we've had a lot of people reach out to us looking for somewhere to ride. It's a safe, designated place to ride. So part of that, with our own equipment, we can maintain that year round rather than more focused around events. So that's been a big push for us, to try and maintain that as a safer area year round. We do have local equipment support. I don't think it was in the grant, but I do have a letter from a local diesel mechanic shop stating support to maintain any and all equipment that's associated with this grant. I apologize, it's not in there. I'll get you a copy of it. One of the other things I forgot to mention, Nevada Outdoor School, I know they were here earlier. They do now have their letter they need from us. They do use our facility for their youth training activities as well. We upgraded our parking lot. So in the last 2 years, there's been some pretty big changes in Winnemucca Motocross. We got new starting gates, brand new starting gates. The other ones have been in since 2002. So we just got those put in the concrete slab and moved our office so that it stops moving around with the shifting sand. We've actually installed electrical and communications for our race ready equipment, so it's more stable, as well as power, so we don't have to run generators to the office. As well as the caterers that come out, we ran power for them, so we don't have to listen to a generator. We've also increased, due to need, our parking area, and upgraded the parking area as well. As well as bleachers. We got some bleachers that were donated from the high school. So we were able to get those in for more spectating areas as well. That's kind of where we're at.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Do you have any questions on this side of the room?
I have a question.
Okay,
In your grant, you're looking at the purchase of a water truck and a dozer,
Yes,
and then a storage container, and then radios, equipment, etc.
yes. Yeah.
Okay.
I will say this, the quote for the equipment is out of California. I plan on trying to get equipment from Nevada. I made no less than 50 phone calls to outfits in Nevada. With the supply chain issues we're having, nobody's selling used equipment, right? Because they're having a hard time getting new ones. So that is our plan, is to try and get it from Nevada, if at all possible.
And then my question is, because it is a large ask, is there certain things that are higher priority for you than others? I know that's I'm putting you on the spot.
You are. They're equally important, and either one of them would be greatly beneficial. It kind of depends on the season, right? When we have races in the middle of summer, the water truck by far is the most important part. We have a race coming up 18th and 19th of March, and then we have our last race will be in November. So the water truck is less important then. So it just kind of varies, really. Either one would be a huge.
Thank you. That's all I had, Commissioner.
you guys good?
Yeah, that he answered my question.
How about over here?
Answer my question.
How about on the internet? We have commissioners there that have questions? Nothing? Okay. Just have really one question, probably end up being a series of back and forth. In your scope of work, you talked strictly about dust suppression. But then when you get down to page 10, number 2, you talk about installing a gazebo. On
Yes.
page 11, you talk about at number 10, you talk about having a storage unit for essential things. So really, what is your scope of work?
Okay, all right. So the scope of work, the connexes are for a safe, secure area that we can put our normal track tools and things like that. As well as we've got support. We're gonna put it's actually for two. The quote was in there. We'll put them side by side with the cover over it, so the equipment can park underneath that cover. Separate from the grant, that's what those connexes are for. The gazebo specifically is for our lap counters. We work with a local glass company that's going to glass it in for us, so they can still see the riders coming and lap count, but they can get them out of the elements, and heat or AC depending on. So that's the scope of work, to get that equipment and build that out. And it's all volunteer based. We'll go out there and get those things installed. So that's what we're looking at.
Okay, that's all I have. Ready? Thank you.
Thank you.
Everybody good?
Thank you for your patience.
Thank you.
So Sheriff, we'll give you the go ahead.
You guys ready over there?
Yeah, I was till I logged out.
30 more seconds.
We can start whenever.
Okay, we are going to hear now from the Story County Sheriff's Office. I assume you folks are.
Yes,
for
sir.
that?
Yes, sir. Newly elected sheriff, Mike Cohen, and this is going to be eventually, or the assistant sheriffs, Eric Kern.
Awesome.
And I don't know if you guys recognize me from Carson City, but we did this for a few times here in Carson City. So I actually wrote this grant before I was elected, and then submitted it prior to me taking office in January 3rd. Basically, Story County is a blank canvas. They have no funding from the OHV grant system at all up there. And I learned at the seminar down in Douglas County this summer that I think we were second per capita in OHV registrations in the state. So I definitely wanted to jump in on this. And if you guys have ever been to Virginia City on the weekends in the summertime, it's a little bit lawless, I would say.
That's the whole point.
Why we go there?
Yeah. I've been going there since I was a little kid, doing the same thing. But we've had a lot of incidents up there. We have regularly DUI drivers in side by sides and on dirt bikes. We've had 2 fatalities off road, side by side fatalities this last year, year before. One was just prosecuted. We had 2 fatalities at the Grand Prix up there, which, Virginia City is well known for the Virginia City Grand Prix every year. Mm-hmm. It's not the fatalities or enforcement of that so much as the education. My idea here is to obviously get Story County involved in the program, start a program up there, start educating our off-road users and our citizens, and give them the right avenues to do that. You know, you go down to the high school all year round, and kids drive their side-by-sides, quads, and dirt bikes to school up there. It's just a normal atmosphere. Not that it's legal to drive or ride on the paved roads. It's just, you know, it's been overlooked for so long. My vision for the future is obviously loading and unloading areas, designated routes from South Reno and Carson City, and to obviously make it a legal way to ride up there without having to worry about the cops. You know, if we get registration and insurance, you can ride on the streets without any issues. For the last couple of years, the sheriff's office has been cracking down on people on C Street, but just on C Street for just having a side-by-side or off-road vehicle. And that's why people go to Virginia City, so they can go to C Street and visit the businesses and restaurants and bars and have a good time. My idea is to obviously not get rid of any of this, is just try to get a handle on it and then educate our users so that they don't have these incidents. I live up there and I use the areas out there quite a bit, and we're always seeing new illegal dump sites, new trails that are cut in, like they mentioned earlier. You know, there's an obstruction, so we start making trails around that instead of clearing the road. There's just a lot of new things going on. One of the things Story County does have also is the Lago-Marcino petroglyphs out there towards Lockwood, the north end of the county. And there's no unloading or on and off loading of side-by-sides in the north end of the county, no designated areas. And we get a lot of complaints from the residents that get users out of Reno, Sparks that come in, dump their trash, use the desert as their restroom, and then leave after they go visit the canyons. And it's pretty cool, actually, if you've ever been out there. It's kind of neat. My idea is to get our officers out there so that we can have some education and enforcement when needed. We actually have an ordinance in the county that prohibits off-road use inside the Lago-Marcino gated area. And you go out there to visit, you always see, you know, dirt bike tracks, or somebody got their quad around the rocks or something. They went up the canyon. So that's the general idea. I'd like to start by getting a side-by-side and some equipment and gear to get the officers out there at events. And if you ever, like I said, you've been to Virginia City, you know we have a parade every Saturday for something. You know, somebody's dog had puppies or something. And we have a parade. So, it's a big deal. And Virginia City is a really fun place to be for that kind of stuff. But my plan is to be up there and set up our equipment and our educational booth at every event, not just the Grand Prix or the off-road stuff, but at the Oyster Fry or the 4th of July. Believe it or not, the camel races bring in 50,000 people into that little Virginia City. And it can be pretty exciting as a law enforcement officer up there with that many people in town, you know. And that's where we're starting. And this grant is similar to the one we did in Carson City a couple of years ago. And I do plan on expanding this in the future, but I thought this would be a good way to start it.
All right. So, as I do with all of the law enforcement requests, are you familiar with NRS 490 and most specifically 490.069?
Yes.
Okay. I noticed you have a lot of conversation in your application about trail maintenance, new trails, trailheads, all that sort of stuff. Do you have agreements with the landowners to do these things? And mostly, as I read your application, you have a big concern with private property owners having and allowing trails on their property. So can you speak to whatever kind of land agreements you have with landowners, including BLM, to be working on their properties?
We don't have any agreements right now that I've written or I've talked to them about. It's basically the same thing that we did with Carson City. We just went out and looked for the folks using the areas. One of the issues we do have up there in the highlands specifically are users from South Reno driving across private property and making their own trails. And without the ability to stop them or contact them, there's not much we can do at this point. the agreements we have with the HOAs up in the Highlands and down in the Lockwood area, we do have the ability to enforce laws on their private property, on their roads, but that's been in effect for since the early 70s, as far as I know.
In regards to these roads and stuff crossing the private properties, are you familiar with the federal RS 2477 roads?
Yes, they've been dealing with that in the county, and I'm new to the county with so the commission meetings and some of that stuff. We did create a new road commission up there, and that's the commission that I would talk to about that specifically, and then also opening C Street to force toward OHV travel, which I haven't got to that yet. This is just where I was starting.
Okay. I think that's all I have for now. Anybody else?
Sheriff Cullen, nice to connect with you again.
See you.
You mentioned that I've never been to Virginia City. You mentioned a variety of events that this side-by-side can gain exposure and sort of spread awareness to the canopy in your machine. Approximately how many events do you think this machine will have exposure to? Just festival and such?
Every weekend.
I don't have any context, sorry. It's a 2 week.
I have actually this each one of those 2 lines represents one of our events during the year, except for this only includes the tourism office sponsored events. This doesn't include the Grand Prix or street migration. We have 2 of those. So the Grand Prix is a big deal, and we definitely be part of that. But every single event that we have, we will be manning a booth up there with volunteers, reserves, deputies, folks that are available. And the other good thing about a lot of the folks that work in Virginia City or live there, but our employees are just about, I'd say 90%, we all ride dirt bikes or we're off-road users of some kind. So every single event up there. And like I said, we have a parade for just about everything. So.
How soon can we end this? Get over there. Clear tomorrow.
They're open all night.
Thank you, Sheriff Cullen.
You should come up. It's really fun.
Thank you.
It's a neat community up there. Wow. Really unique. But yeah, thank you. Story County is kind of I grew up in Nevada. It's the forgot about county. I was like, where? I had to look it up. So.
The area that nobody goes to. Not a lot of people. You have any questions?
Nope.
How about on the internet? Those folks have a question?
No questions online?
All right, I guess that concludes the Inquisition.
All right, great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Use our citation line.
I did confirm they are still.
They're there.
Yeah.
I'm watching. They're right here.
Thank you, guys. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I didn't know if you won or not. I just answer my question.
Is it Mr. Perkins?
Yes.
Awesome. You'll be up next whenever the chair calls you, but you can set up.
Am I able to plug in somewhere or?
Can you join the meeting and then share it, or you can email me your presentation? You can
Okay.
you can use my computer. if you like.
You're in the middle.
Yeah, that's correct.
It's I guess I can use my computer because it's on Canva, so it's
Okay.
web-based.
Do you want to put it on a thumb drive, or do you need it online?
You can just I can just log into my Canva account.
Oh, here, why don't you just plug this in and use your computer?
Okay.
on time.
Are you able to get online?
I'm online, do I?
And then log into
Oh,
the
I'm
meeting
sorry.
and share the screen there.
Where's, you sent the link out in the email, that's right?
It's on the agenda board.
Regardless of what we think of Virginia City today, it's a lot less lawless than it was in the sixties.
As a kid, again, I was a kid, but I lived in,
That's
California.
the Hells Angels tried to take over. The Red Dog was really going big. They were bringing in people like James Joplin and Grateful Dead.
That is cool.
Oh, yeah.
Are we talking like 30 minutes from where we sit now or a little more? How far? 20 minutes?
You don't know HB, what?
Depending on how many stoplights you hit.
Depends on if you really want to go 25. you so-
It's just like right on top of that.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Okay, so next time,
Yep.
you're taking extra days,
Right.
one from Virginia City and one from us.
You know what?
I don't have, yeah.
Where are you staying? Yeah, bro.
Just trying to get so that you can control your
Jittery
computer.
3/4 ton F-250. I couldn't even read my notes. That was leaps. I got picked up by with a text.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I normally have a car.
That would get you up through
Yeah.
Virginia.
Oh, on the way back.
Yeah, you can make
See if I
a
can share.
I won't see you. We're not finishing till 9:30. This might be a two-parter.
It's a two-parter, so sends a five plus program.
And then go to your whatever.
I know it's a two-parter until lunch.
2 days.
Part two.
What? 2 days for this meeting?
That's what I was under the impression of.
Yeah, I didn't.
Lunchtime.
I didn't. I didn't notice for 2 days. One long. Whenever the chair says.
Okay, I thought you had something to do. Okay. So we are now going to hear from the Old Highway 93 OHV staging facility. Is that you?
Yes, sir.
All righty. Well, welcome.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for coming in today. Give us your presentation. Let us know what you're doing.
Yeah, so first off, thanks for having me. I really appreciate this opportunity. Want to give a background to kind of how I even ended up doing this. This is not my full-time position. It's noticeably different on that list of all the applicants where it's like I'm a standalone guy, right? That's requesting this grant. For work, I've moved all around the country, and most recently we're living in San Diego. And this land has been in our family for, I don't know, years. And there's always been plans in place to try to utilize it. And we moved from San Diego to Alamo. If anybody has ever been to Alamo, it was definitely a different a contrast for sure. We have one store and it's like, okay, what do we need tonight? Fries or a burger or whatever it is every night.
And
But-
no humidity.
What's that?
And no humidity.
Zero humidity, right? I lived in the South for a while too, and that there's no humidity. And I'm a redhead, so I just, I crack up for sure. So anyways, with that is we moved to Alamo with the intent to get something going on this land, to get something. There have been ideas about doing, glamping and campgrounds and all these other things. And I'd say about 6 months ago, I was investigating and researching putting in a side-by-side rental facility, and did a lot of research, talked to a lot of people, and it kind of went cold just because I have a full-time job, a day job, and capital was, and so it kind of kind of fizzled out a little bit, still with the idea that we were going to do something like that. And then we saw in the little Lincoln Times that about this grant, and I think it was like 3 or 4 weeks before the applications were due in the Kill. I was like, okay, well, I got to do this. And so in doing that, it spurred something in me, I guess. I don't need to give this whole diatribe of information, but it gave me insight into the needs in the county and what I've seen from talking to individuals. Lincoln County it's an interesting area from Coyote Springs, the golf course that's by itself, and then Western Elite, and then next up is this land here. And then you go up into Alamo, and then there's a big old huge chasm, and you got Caliani POs. So it's different. I've never lived in an area like it before, but they need something like this. I just was at a meeting maybe 2 days ago in Caliani. We were talking about it. Tourism is really the only option in my opinion, or it just from what I've drawn. So with that being said, I wanted to present to you my idea. Put a lot of effort and work into this. I did have to put a plug in for my dad. He helped me out. He was the director of leisure services for St. George, Utah, for 34 years, and so he helped me out a lot. They put in a lot of parks and all kinds of things. So, all right. So to get started, I want to just kind of touch on the agenda. I'm just going to talk about those overarching needs that I was able to uncover as I talked to business owners and to just county officials. And then connectivity, how we can connect this trail system or this staging area to the other staging areas in Lincoln County. There's really the Silver State, if you are probably familiar with Silver State. And that's really it other than Mesquite. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about the connectivity there. And then tourism, the benefits of having tourism and bringing people into the county, and then also how to maintain it, because this is 25 years. What are we going to do to maintain this property? It's, most of what I'm asking for is on private property, private land. And so what we're going to do to be able to maintain that. So any questions before I go? I just wanted to point out here on this map before I go there, I'm going to mention this later, but it's 70 miles directly north of Las Vegas, Nevada. It would be the closest staging area to the entertainment capital of the world, where we'd be able to draw a lot of tourists up there. So the needs that I identified, it's spelled out here. Tourism and recreation was the one that jumped out to me. Also education and safety. There is my wife and I were just talking about this just the other day. We were driving by the property, and there were people out there just driving through in their OHVs through the land, just tearing it all up, not on trails, just having at it. They have their tent set up, and we see a lot of that where education to the different habitats and environments and those types of things. And I talked about that later with the preservation. It's needed as well. And then just safety in general. I think these gentlemen just talked about how there's if it's legal to be 16 years old and drive one, then there needs to be safety instruction. And then growth and development. I think that ties into the tourism and recreation. And I'll talk a little bit more about this, but we see this portion of developing is kind of the anchor of more to come, where because it is adjacent to private property that is actually commercially zoned, we see the future, adding different businesses and other things in this location. And then the last one, obviously, is the preservation and connectivity, preserving the land, staying on the existing trails, not trying to carve or create our own, and then connectivity with the other trails, as I had mentioned. So any questions on this?
Yeah.
All right. So you guys may have seen this map before, because I pulled it off of the OHV website, because I think it tells a lot. So if you look at this, the top portion, that northern portion, is the is the OHV trail, the Silver State Trail, which is, remind me, what's it called? What is that called? It's the first congressionally.
Oh, it's the first congressionally
designated OHV trail. I'm sure you knew that one. And then down there at the bottom, that southernmost is Mesquite. There's I think the Cocopelli group, they handle and sign those trails. But over here on the western side, Alamo, Rachel, those areas, Ash Springs, even down towards Caliente, where you see, or not Caliente, I'm sorry, Coyote Springs, where you see the arrow pointing, that will be the location. And so the north, the east are covered by having the staging area. However, right there, along 93, there is no staging areas to these trails. And so what we're finding is a lot of people are going into these, just going off on the road. They're following the trail and they're just going off and driving through the making their own trails. And obviously that's not something that we want. But then also there could be habitat and other things. But then one other thing that I found from actually OHV drivers is they're worried about utilizing these existing trails, because as they pull off, they're just kind of leaving their trailer and their truck on the side of the highway and not really have any place to stage. And so that's why we're pushing for having this staging area where it's a secure area where it's going to be watched and upkept, and will be a great place for them to be able to park their vehicles and their trailers while they're out enjoying the countryside. Any thoughts or questions on this one? Okay, so this is a view. I know I should have moved that little quote there, but this is a view of looking directly south toward Las Vegas. That's why I put up that sweet sign there, just so you could understand that this is directly down 93. But if you jump over just the other side, it's old 93. So the old highway is already there. As you drive in from Alamo, and I'm driving in, I look off to the east there, and the old highway is just going off into the road, into the field, whatever you want to call it, the desert there. And it's like, this is absolutely perfect. If we had some sort of like an arch where they could go through, and then it just leads them to these trails. It's awesome. So this area right here, there'd be 6 acres of this would be sectioned off for parking alone. And then what we're positioning, as you read through there, that we would have a building there that would store things, and that we would be able to kind of, run different trainings from and other things like that. And that would be kind of south facing right there on the edge there. But what I wanted, the reason, and I digress, I'll get in there and I'll answer these questions when they come up. But the reason I bring this up, or that I put this quote on here, this is Varlin Higby, the Lincoln County Commissioner, one of the 3 there. He said, "These proposed amenities are strategically located to existing roads and trails that access a scenic and wonderful part of our county. This is the type of development necessary and valuable, and will bring countless benefits to OHV user groups visiting the area." And then he later went on to say that he approved of this, and I think I put that letter in the application. But in talking with, I was shocked, because again, I have a day job and I do other things, so this is a whole new world for me. I learned from a lot of these county officials that as I talked to them, I didn't hear a single naysayer about this. Every one of them was like, "Oh, that sounds like a great plan." And just in hearing it, and I was shocked that I've never really experienced that in any type of business atmosphere, I guess you could say, because there's always naysayers. But anyways, I just wanted to point that out. So moving on, I'm trying to get this in 10 minutes. So I know my mug there, my wife asked me to put that in there. I didn't necessarily want to, but so we are proposing that we will obviously have this for 25 years, more or less, the upkeep of this. So I wanted to kind of give you a timeline on that. So initially what we would do is, and I should say, initially what we would do is, we and I have 8 children, okay? I got to put them to work. We initially, as are looking to kind of maintain the property until we get things rolling with those other two. More or less, we would set aside funds to be able to pay for, you know, toilet paper and other necessities and maintenance and all those things, and do the man hour initially. However, right now in the works, we're looking to start probably within first or second quarter, the end of first quarter, second quarter, we're looking to start a side-by-side business that would utilize the facility and bring people to the location and start advertising for that as well. And then also, it's in the works. I've been passing around a sign-up sheet and talking to friends and things. We're going to start an OHV club because there's not one anywhere. And these two organizations, along with me and my gigantic family, will be responsible for the maintenance of these facilities. With Adventures Envy, that would be, we would set aside part of the proceeds or part of the revenue to that would go towards the upkeep and the maintenance of the facility, and the actually the progression of it. We're planning on adding to it and you know, putting revenue towards it to spruce it up even more. Then with the and then also the OHV club with their dues and other things would be able to purchase things as well to upkeep the facility and the staging area. So just to give you a little glimpse into what it looked like, I know that water tank there looks awful. However, it gives you an understanding of what we plan to do here. So like, as I mentioned, there's the 6 acres of parking, and then this building that I took forever on, that my kids made fun of me for because they could have done it in a heartbeat. This building would represent that where we would have OHV registration courses, or have the local law enforcement come and do OHV registrations. We would push for that. We would also store, I put in there for a maintenance or a UTV to be able to upkeep the grounds, so that we would use that more or less as an office space. And then on the back of it, there'd be a restroom for visitors, for anybody to use, that we would upkeep as well. And then right now, I'm sure you know, as a part of the Coyote Springs water situation in that area, I don't know how much you know about it, but I'm sure you know a lot. It's under, they are not giving water rights out, and so as of right now. And so in talking to the water district or the water authorities, they said if we bring in water and have a tank, then we can utilize it. So initially, until we're able to receive water rights, we are going to bring in water and pump it in, you know, so that we can clean off the side-by-sides and use it for whatever needs be, and then also for the restrooms and things. Am I over time?
You're getting there.
Okay.
Let's wrap it up.
Okay, cool. So that's ultimately the proposal. In the land adjacent to it, where we've talked about putting in campgrounds and other types of facilities, so that these folks who are utilizing the facilities can actually spend the night and make a weekend of it. There's other events and other things that we're planning on doing. So in a nutshell, this is what we see this as, is kind of that anchor to get us started, to get going, and then we plan on along both sides of the 93 right there. It's all zoned commercial, so we're planning on bringing in other things so that we can help build the county, bring in revenue, and draw people into Lincoln County. So that's it. Thank you.
Cool.
There you go. Good job.
Any questions on this side of the room?
Couple, Commissioner Sparrow, phase 2 you mentioned is the business portion of it, where you'll be running side-by-side service out of. At what point will that business interfere with public utilizing the space? Is this going to be a use area, or is your business going to commingle with general public parking?
So we'll commingle. However, what we plan on doing is either picking up individuals. We have a Sprinter van, as you can imagine, and driving people in and picking them up, shuttling them in. I'm assuming most of our advertising is going to be done in the Vegas area to bring in tourists. And so we're going to provide a shuttle service so that we would come in. We would either store our vehicles in Alamo or build another building once our business gets going, where we would store the other side by sides. However, it wouldn't be 6 acres. I know right now it's I think it's big enough initially, but if we need to expand it in the future, we would, so that we wouldn't. I mean, we would essentially right now commingle. However, we have the ability to adapt, I guess.
Okay, follow-up question to that. With that, what percentage of this property, this project will be utilized for public OHV use versus private business entity?
What percentage? I would say because here's the honest truth. I mean, of course. I mean, that's figures speech. Majority of it would be used for the public, because this is run by the state. This is a grant to help the public utilize the facilities, and so just like with